Good morning. We call this Rules Committee to order for Tuesday, May 9th, and I'll note for the record there is a quorum present. Vice Chair Hollins, would you care to move the minutes from Friday, May 5th?
Thank you, Chair Long. Yes, I've reviewed the minutes and I move their approval.
All right. Any discussion to the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? The minutes are adopted. Next, we have the calendar for the day for Thursday, May 11th. We are proposing House File 3288, the Claims Bill, House File 1900, which we heard in this committee on Friday, and House File 197, the ERA Resolution to Congress. Any discussion to the calendar for the day? Seeing none, I move the adoption of the calendar for the day pursuant to Rule 1.21 and 3.33. The Committee on Rules and Legislative Administration designates Thursday, May 11th for the adoption of the calendar for the day and establishes a pre-filing requirement for amendments offered to those bills. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? The calendar for the day is adopted. Final order of business for today is 2023 R21, the resolution on waiver of House rules on concurrences. It is typical that when we get towards the end of session that we waive the 12-hour waiting period so that we can make sure we're adjourning on time. Discussion. Leader Damath.
Thank you, Chair Long. Could you just let us know, I know it is typical, but knowing that we still have a number of days left, why we are actually taking this action this soon as opposed to next week?
So my understanding is that we typically waive it for the final week of session, and the hope is that next week is the final week of session and that we aren't going past the 18th. So that's certainly the Speaker's intent, is to try to wrap up business next week.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
Representative Nash.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I'll just pick up on where the leader left off. It strikes me as premature. I certainly do understand holding at the desk creates hurdles and challenges, but it also means that people who are trying to watch or engage remotely or in person may not even have enough time to put thoughts or actions together to get down here and begin chatting with people. I'll just say the entire session has moved at a speed that no one has seen before. You have time. We've already dispensed with several reports that have come back from conference committee. This does not seem necessary, and it just seems that it's another way to accelerate the work that we're supposed to be doing. It makes it very difficult for caucuses like ours to slow down and look at what's going on with the reports. I just think this is hasty, but it seems to be in line with the fact that you're moving at a speed that is really irrespective of our perspective on things.
Well, Representative Nash, just because we're waiving the rule doesn't mean that we're going to take it up the minute it comes back. The goal is, of course, to allow our caucuses time to process and review, but 12 hours is not always practical when we're in the final week of session. Representative O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To that point, yeah, I would echo what Representative Nash just said, and the public has very little time if we do this right now. I think this is premature, this is way too early, and the public doesn't have a chance to weigh in. For example, Mr. Chair, last night at 9:17 p.m., the conference committee report on higher ed was published, and there wasn't even a public hearing on many of the Senate provisions that are now found in that bill. And I'm still weighing through it. I had a call before that was even completely public and the other conferees had signed off on it from a reporter asking me my thoughts on it. I hadn't even had a chance to look at it. I wasn't involved in the process. I was completely frozen out of it, and I'm not alone. There have been, I don't even know what member of either House or Senate Republican Party was involved in any of those conversations. There were times when agreements were made at the very first conference committee hearing and said, here it is, and they walked out. This is beyond the pale. Like, we need to actually do the process, include the public. I couldn't be more upset today. Like, I couldn't believe that I wasn't even informed on what was happening, meetings were, nothing. Like, so this is just another example of unnecessary movement with the majority that obviously has a trifecta, you can do whatever you want, you're gonna vote this through because you have the votes. But I could not disagree with this motion more, because the public has had no opportunity to review even the things that are gonna be on the floor in a few hours. So, Mr. Chair, I would ask that you would please put this aside and do it at a later date when it actually could potentially be relevant to get our work done. But the speed at which we're going is just historic and not in a good way, Mr. Chair.
Representative Robbins.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to support the comments my colleagues have already made. I have been incredibly frustrated by the conference committee process this year. 3 of the conference committees don't even have a Republican member appointed, and those that do have been left out of, from my understanding from my colleagues, left out of all the meaningful conversations about what ends up in these bills. I also serve on higher ed. Found out late last night about the bill being posted. There are substantial changes from how it left the House that we are still working through in real time. This is my folder. And so to waive the 12-hour rule, the 12-hour rule is the only reason we're going to know what's in that bill before we go to the floor today. And barely. I should say I'm disappointed at the lack of work we will have had time to do to prepare for floor today. And so if we waive the 12-hour rule, we are going to go to the floor and not have any idea what's in these bills. The public will have no idea what's in these bills. And yet they will become law. And that's really not speaking well of how this institution is supposed to function or how we are supposed to do our job. So I urge the majority to wait until closer to the end of session. Thank you.
Representative Torkelson, do you look like you're leaning in?
I'm leaning in, Mr. Chair, to echo and add to the remarks of my colleagues. You know, I've been around here long enough to serve on either side of the majority-minority divide, and can remember many times being personally berated for lack of transparency, doing things in the dark of night, doing things behind closed doors. I haven't been here long enough to see in a smoke-filled room, but the truth is the public has no idea what's going on behind the scenes with these conference committees, and neither do any Republicans. Every participant of a conference committee I've talked to has been left out of the process, where we have Republicans, that is. As of noon today, we have 324 hours left in this session. That's a lot of time, frankly. Time enough to do this work in a more transparent fashion. I know these protests have been thrown back and forth across the line many times over the years, but I think we owe it to the institution to start listening to this sort of thing, because the public is interested, but they can't be interested if they don't know what's going on. And with that, Mr. Chair, I would urge you to wait with lifting this rule till it's necessary. I don't think it's necessary at this point in time.
Well, thank you. I certainly note the concerns. As I mentioned, this is a standard practice when we're getting towards the end of session, done by both parties. Certainly, we understand and respect that the public needs time to review bills, and we want to provide that opportunity for your members as well as ours. We have folks who are going to want to look through the bills on our side too. So I don't think the fact that we are waiving this means that every bill is going to be rushed through. The goal is just to give the flexibility needed to make sure that we're ending session on time.
Mr. Chair, I request a roll call.
Roll call has been requested, and we will, I don't see further discussion, so the clerk will take the roll.
Chair Long.
Aye.
Chair Long, aye. Vice Chair Hollins.
Aye.
Vice Chair Hollins, aye. Lee Dameth.
No.
Lee Dameth, no. Representative Engen.
No.
Representative Howard. Excused. Representative Hewitt.
No. Aye.
Hewitt, aye. Representative Jordan.
Aye.
Representative Jordan, aye. Representative Lilly.
Aye.
Lilly, aye. Representative Moeller.
Aye.
Moeller, aye. Representative Nash.
No.
Nash, no. Representative Olson.
Aye.
Olson, aye. Representative O'Neill.
No.
O'Neill, no. Representative Pulowski.
Aye.
Pulowski, aye. Representative Robbins.
No.
Robbins, no. Representative Torkelson.
No.
Torkelson, no. Representative Wolgamott.
Wolgamott votes aye.
Wolgamott votes aye. Mr. Chair, there are 9 ayes and 6 nays.
There being 9 ayes and 6 nays, the resolution is adopted. We do not have another Rules Committee scheduled at this point for the week, so we'll keep people posted if that changes, but at this point, this is our last Rules Committee that is planned for the week. And with that, we are adjourned.